I never imagined that a simple driveway could become the battlefield for one of the most frustrating and ridiculous fights of my life. It all started with small, almost imperceptible signs, footprints where there shouldn't have been any, a car parked a little too close to the edge, and then came the bold, entitled claim that left me reeling. My neighbor, Mr. Thompson, a man with an inflated sense of authority and a knack for turning nonsense into legal threats, decided that my driveway wasn't actually mine. According to him, it was community property, a shared space that anyone in the neighborhood could use at will. I had lived in this house for years without a single issue, but suddenly, I was being told that the very ground leading up to my garage no longer belonged to me. At first, I thought it was a joke, one of those absurd statements made in passing that people laugh off. But then things escalated quickly. One morning, I stepped outside to find a car I didn't recognize parked in the middle of my driveway, blocking my garage completely. I knocked on Thompson's door, hoping for a rational conversation, but the smug look on his face when he answered told me everything I needed to know. "Oh, that's just my cousin's car," he said, waving a dismissive hand. "He'll be back in a few hours. No big deal, right?" It was a big deal. I made it clear that he needed to move the car immediately, but he just smirked, crossing his arms as if daring me to do something about it. "This isn't just your driveway, you know. It's been open for years. People have used it before. Just because you live here doesn't mean you get to hoard all the space." My blood boiled at his audacity. This was my property. The deed, the title, everything had my name on it, and yet he spoke with such entitlement, as if my ownership was just a technicality he could dismiss. I called a tow truck. If he wasn't going to move the car, I'd have it removed myself. But before the driver could even hook the car up, Thompson stormed outside, shouting about how I had no right to tow community property. He actually tried to physically block the tow truck, arms spread wide like some sort of martyr for the neighborhood's so-called rights. The tow truck driver looked at me, waiting for a call, and I knew I had to act fast. "This is private property," I stated firmly, shoving the paperwork in Thompson's face. "Your cousin's car is trespassing, and I'm well within my rights to have it removed." For a moment, something flickered in his expression. Hesitation, doubt, but it was gone in an instant. He turned to the tow driver and threatened to sue if he touched the car. The driver, not wanting to deal with legal drama, backed off, leaving me fuming while Thompson strutted back into his house, victorious. That was when I realized this wasn't just a one-time thing. It was the beginning of something bigger. Within days, more cars started appearing in my driveway. Random people, visitors I'd never seen before, parking there like it was a free-for-all. Thompson had apparently spread the word that my driveway was fair game. I confronted him again, only for him to double down, claiming he had spoken to someone at the city office who supposedly confirmed that shared use of excess driveway space was encouraged in community neighborhoods. It was, of course, a complete lie, but that didn't stop him from parading it around like a legal decree. I was beyond frustrated, but I wasn't going to let this stand. It was time to push back hard. I started documenting everything, taking photos and videos of every unauthorized car, every person who trespassed onto my property, every instance of Thompson's absurd entitlement. I researched property laws, looking for any angle I could use to shut him down quickly. Then I put up signs, large, bright ones that made it unmistakably clear that my driveway was private property and that unauthorized vehicles would be towed at the owner's expense. I even installed security cameras, their blinking red lights, a warning to anyone thinking of testing my patience. But Thompson wasn't fazed. He laughed off my attempts to reclaim control, telling anyone who would listen that I was being unreasonable, that I was some selfish neighbor trying to hoard space. The worst part was that a handful of people actually believed him. Then came the fake notices, official-looking papers taped to my garage door claiming that excess residential driveway space was subject to community use unless explicitly designated otherwise through a petition signed by local residents. Complete nonsense, but written in the kind of bureaucratic jargon that could easily fool someone unfamiliar with property law. I took the fake notice to the city office myself, not just to report it, but to get an official statement confirming that no such policy existed. I then printed copies of their response and posted them all over the neighborhood. I sent emails to our local community group, exposing Thompson's scam and making it crystal clear that he had zero authority over my property. I installed a retractable parking barrier at the base of my driveway, one that required a remote control to lower, cutting off access unless I personally allowed it. The next time an unauthorized car parked there, I wasted no time calling for a tow. This time, I wasn't alone. Several neighbors had seen my notices, seen the proof of his lies, and they were watching. When Thompson tried to pull the same legal bluff, claiming I had no right to tow cars from shared property, one of the neighbors finally spoke up. "Cut it out, Thompson. You made all of that up. We all saw the real notice." The tow truck driver didn't even acknowledge his protests as he drove off with the car in tow. It was a small victory, but I knew Thompson wasn't done yet. In the following days, trash began appearing at the edge of my driveway. Empty fast food bags, crushed soda cans, crumpled pieces of paper. At first, I dismissed it as careless littering, but the garbage increased, piling up in small, deliberate mounds. I adjusted my security cameras, capturing footage of Thompson sneaking over under the cover of darkness, dumping small bags of trash. Then came the noise, constant, grating, unavoidable noise. Late at night, he blasted distorted static from his backyard, vibrations rattling my windows. Some nights, it was music, other nights sudden bursts of loud hammering as if he was working on a non-existent project at midnight. I compiled every piece of evidence, videos of him dumping trash, footage of him loitering near my property, timestamps of every noise disturbance, and took it straight to the homeowners association. The board, already aware of Thompson's history of causing problems, had no choice but to act. He was slapped with multiple fines for harassment, property defacement, and noise violations. But I wasn't done yet. With the official backing of the HOA, I filed a formal complaint with the city, escalating my case beyond neighborhood disputes. When another random car appeared in my driveway, I didn't just tow it, I had it impounded. Thompson's influence was slipping through his fingers like sand. His reputation was crumbling, and his desperation was palpable. Late one evening, I caught him on my security cameras, pushing one of his old, broken-down cars onto my driveway inch by inch, as if he could physically force his claim into reality. I called the police, showed them the footage, the legal documents, and the ongoing case against him. The officers took one look at the situation and immediately intervened. Thompson, for all his bravado, suddenly found himself facing real consequences, trespassing charges, fines, and the looming threat of legal action. The final blow came when the HOA issued him an ultimatum: comply or sell his house and leave. Within days, a for sale sign appeared on his lawn. The night before his official move-out date, I found my newly installed parking barrier bent and dented, as if someone had deliberately rammed into it. My security cameras caught everything, Thompson's final, reckless act of defiance. But it didn't matter. The footage was added to the already extensive record of his actions, another nail in the coffin of his reputation. When I confronted him the next day, as he loaded the last of his belongings into a moving truck, he didn't say a word. His face was a mask of barely contained resentment, but there was no grand confrontation, no final attempt to justify himself. Just silence. And then he was gone. With Thompson out of the picture, peace returned to my home. But the ordeal had changed me. I had learned just how far entitlement could push a person, how relentless someone could become when they believed the world owed them something. The battle for my driveway was over, but the lesson it left behind would stay with me forever.